It is about 3 minutes after people have had the opportunity to log on, and some might log in a little bit late, but I think that's okay. I'm going to kick it off. I just want to say good afternoon and thank you to everyone for joining us. This is part 1 of our Inspiring Speaker Series. And for those who don't know me, my name is Michelle O'Keery and I'm the CEO of Compassion House Foundation. I do want to start by acknowledging that we are on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional meeting grounds and home for many Indigenous peoples, including the Cree, the Saulteaux, the Blackfoot, the Métis, and the Nakota Sioux peoples. For those who aren't familiar with our organization, here at Compassion House Foundation, we have a mission to support women through the cancer journey, and we do that by providing safe, comfortable, and affordable accommodations at Sorrentino's Compassion House, as well as a variety of post-treatment programs and services, including workshops and retreats, local in-person support, and online resources through Compassion Connects. We know that the fight against cancer involves more than medical treatment alone. That's why today's hour-long lunch session on managing anxiety and distress for cancer survivors will address the impact of cancer and mental and emotional well-being. I'm sure that this topic is very top of mind for a lot of us right now as we navigate through the COVID-19 pandemic. And so I hope that even if you aren't a cancer survivor or you're not supporting somebody who's going through the cancer journey right now, that you get something out of this today. We're thrilled to have Kim Hamilton, registered provisional psychologist at the Grief and Trauma Healing Center, and Sundas Shamshad, former guest of Sorrentino's Compassion House and founder of Sisters in Cancer YMM, a support group for cancer patients and survivors in Fort McMurray, here with us today. I'll turn it over to them shortly. Kim's going to present first, and then Sundas will, and we'll have a little bit of time at the end for Q&A. But before we start, I do want to acknowledge that this event would not be possible without the support of our sponsor, CPA Alberta. CPA came on board to this way back in February of last year when we had planned on running these in person pre-COVID. We had everything planned to launch in Grand Prairie at the end of March, and as you can imagine, we had to pivot quickly. So we held off for quite some time in hopes that eventually we would be able to do this in person, but they stuck with us as we pivoted to a virtual delivery. So I want to say thank you to CPA. Now, without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Kim. Kim.
Thank you. I'm just going to get my screen share. Oh, that's not working. Give me 2 seconds here so I can pull it up. We had it working this morning and now I'm having some troubles, so my apologies. Okay, maybe I can pull up. Oh, sorry. There we go. All right, so I am very excited to be here today and present to you on a topic that is very near and dear to my heart in managing anxiety and distress, and then in particular for cancer survivors. So I wanted to start with a quote from Dr. Gabor Mate. He is a Canadian doctor stationed mostly in BC in the Vancouver area. And he really encapsulates this idea where he says, whenever there is tension, it needs attention. And Gabor Mate, Dr. Mate's, most of his career has been spent working with people in trauma or addiction settings, but more recently he has been engaging in a lot of research on how our bodies holding stress and the stress that we feel can actually impact us by creating autoimmune disorders and problems. And so this idea that this tension in our body is an indicator that is worth exploring and seeing what it means really hits home when we think of stress and how it can play out. I'd first like to take a few moments just to talk about the difference between stress, fear, and anxiety. So stress is this challenge that we face. It can be real or imagined, and it creates a physical response in our body. So sometimes that's often seen in the muscles, whether it's tight shoulders or in our back. We might notice some back pain. Other areas of our body could include stomach. And this challenge that it might face could be internal pressure that we put on, or it can be from external sources. How this is different from fear is that fear not just has a physical response, but also an emotional and physiological response. And fear is what happens when there is a real, immediate threat or danger to us. That, of course, changes for anxiety because anxiety is that same full emotional and physical response, but it's often to a perceived threat. So, anxiety is often when we are either fixating on something that happened in the past, something we could have done different, we should have done different, or should have done it in more of or less of, or when we're really focused on the what ifs of the future. So when we have someone who is on their cancer journey, we can understand how we might be feeling stress, fear, and anxiety at the same time. So that stress of having to meet those challenges of the treatments and family and work and any other obligations, and how that does create a physical response in our body, as well as those fears of, I am at risk of not living or something else could happen. And then at the same time, also feeling some anxiety around the what ifs down the road. And so it's really important to acknowledge when we're feeling stress, fear, or anxiety, and how they are a little bit different. With stress, there are two different types of stress, and they actually have very different messagings. So, eustress is a very helpful type of stress. It's very positive, and it is generally what we do to motivate us. So, when we think of kids studying the night before an exam, that is a form of eustress. It puts us into action. It's usually short term, it can help improve our performance, but the key thing with eustress, excuse me, is that it is believed to be within our coping mechanisms. We have enough supports internally and externally to handle whatever it is that's coming up. Where that changes and can become quite unhealthy is when we start to be in a state of distress. So that distress often is more longer term, but it can be short term. And it is beyond what we have in terms of our coping skills. It's too much. We're overwhelmed. And when we're living in a state of distress, it actually can take away from our energy. It feels very uncomfortable and unpleasant. And if we live in that state of distress long enough, we can have some physical illnesses, some mental, emotional illnesses that result from being in that state for too long, because it is too much for our body to handle. This is a really neat graphic just to see where we are in our day-to-day life as well as our long-term life. So ideally, if we're even in that state of eustress, that positive stress, or in a state of calm, it's the I'm thriving, I've got this. And as you can see from this graphic, there's lots of indicators in our body and our emotional state that tell us we're in this. So we're calm, our mood is steady, it's not changing drastically. We're able to consistently do things well. We're able to focus and we can talk to people about what's going on, as well as our sleep and eating patterns are quite normal. So that's a really good indicator as to where we are in our stress levels. We can slide down the scale a little bit, and this might be a little bit of the eustress but causes us into action, or this might be a little bit of indicator that we're moving into some distress. So maybe we're feeling some nervousness, our moods are changing, as well as we start to notice changes in being able to sleep and eat properly. In particular, you start to notice some muscle tension. So again, going back to that quote where wherever there is tension, we need to put some attention. So that muscle tension, the low energy, the headaches, that's a sign that we're feeling some stress and we need to check in and go, what's going on here? If this becomes too much, we slide even further down. We're now at a point where I can't keep up with this. So we're living in a state of persistent fear and panic and anxiety. Our mental state is no longer hopeful. We're feeling sad and exhausted. And even just making simple day-to-day decisions is too much. We are very much overwhelmed. We'll also start to notice some fatigue and aches and pains throughout our body. Our sleep becomes disturbed. And sometimes some people will start to lean on different ways to manage that pain through self-medication, through food, or other numbing activities. So this is where we're really in a state of distress. And then, of course, that becomes even more when we're in crisis and we feel panic constantly. Our thoughts are just too much. And you can really see how we withdraw from our relationships, we're feeling numb and out of control. And so this is a deep sense of distress. And our ability to cope with this is just not able to exist. And so anywhere along the cancer journey, we might find ourselves struggling in fluctuating between the thriving to the struggling to the surviving to the in crisis. And it becomes really important to check in and say, what kind of coping strategies do I have? And how can I move myself from this state of struggling back into surviving, back into thriving? And just really paying attention to what's going on around us. And here are some ways we can cope with stress and anxiety. And what I've done here is broken them down into some immediate, almost like the quick and dirty of coping with stress. So one of the things, as we talked about, anxiety is where we are focusing on things that happened in the past or in the future. So we want to bring our attention back to the right here, right now. Sometimes we need to shock our senses with that. So drinking a glass of ice cold water is a simple yet effective strategy to bring us into the right here, right now. Because when our mind is so focused on something else, shocking it with our sensations helps bring us into this present moment. Another way to manage our stress and anxiety in the immediate moment is to take some deep belly breaths. So when most of us are breathing in a state of stress and anxiety, if we were to put our hand on our chest and a hand on our belly, most of the time we wouldn't notice any movement in our belly. We have become quite often a society of people who breathe in our chest. Breathing in our chest keeps us in a state of fight or flight. We want to be able to drop down into our belly because that helps get us into that state of parasympathetic system, and it allows us to release some muscle tension, to relax and really bring our attention to a different state of being. Another simple way to bring us back into the present moment is through grounding in our environment. What that could look like, one that I go to all the time is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 colors. So there's many variations of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I like colors because it's also one that I can use with kids and anybody can do it. So it's a matter of, okay, looking around my environment, can I name 5 things that are, say, black? And I might go, okay, the lamp, my desk, the computer. These are 5 things in my environment that are black. Now, can I see 4 things in my environment that are white? So looking for something that's a different color. And then 3 things that are another color, maybe blue. And then 2 that are one more. And then 1 of another color. When I do that, I have really pulled myself into the here and now. And the sense of anxiety usually has diminished a little bit. The ongoing stress and anxiety tools that we can use, one is exercise. So depending on where you are in your cancer journey or supporting someone with cancer, exercise is a really healthy way to again tap into that muscle tension we're often feeling. And it could be something like following a yin yoga class. So yin isn't a high impact exercise, but it does help release those endorphins. It does help change our brain so that it can relax, as well as often most exercises encourage some deep breathing. So again, now we have two layers of tapping into our body and telling it it's okay to relax. Another ongoing way to manage our stress and anxiety is watching how we talk. We often say should a lot. I should do this. I should go here. We should get that done. Should brings a lot of judgment, criticism, and self blame when it doesn't get done into the picture. So if we even just change the word should to could, it helps create a tiny bit of space of choice. It also helps create some freedom, and it takes away the judgment and the criticism if we don't get it done. When we don't have that judgment and that criticism, our anxiety and our stress also goes down. Finally, in the preventative category, so hoping to prevent some of our anxiety, reduce some of our stress, knowing that we're always going to have events that come up in our life that might make us anxious, might create some stress. We can really just think about, okay, this is December. I'm going to look at my calendar. I'm going to put all these major events that are going on, put on my calendar any appointment dates, recognizing if I'm going to the doctor, if I'm having a treatment, or if I'm having a checkup, how might that affect me that day or the next day? And planning for that so that if I have an appointment and I know I'm not going to feel well after, that I have nothing else scheduled for the rest of the day. And maybe I have that extra time that I don't schedule anything tomorrow either. Building a gratitude practice. So there's more and more brain research on how creating a gratitude practice helps us with our anxiety levels because it actually changes what we're looking for in the world. When we're thinking about anxiety, we're often looking at those worst case scenarios. What bad things might happen or what bad things did happen. If we create a gratitude practice, we're telling our brain to actively search for positive things. And there have been many studies that show when we start to create a gratitude practice, and they don't have to be big things for gratitude. It could be something like, you know what? I'm very grateful. I got 6 hours sleep last night because the night before I only had 2. It can be something like, I really enjoyed today's meal. I'm grateful for it. So, looking at ways to start to see our day to day things in a simple but grateful way will actually start to reduce our stress and anxiety because we're now looking at the world through a different filter. Sleep is probably one of the most important things we can do to reduce our stress and anxiety and really trying to get a good night's sleep. One of the things I often encourage my clients to do is actually right before bed, practicing some of those deep belly breaths right before sleep. As we talked about, those deep belly breaths take us into that rest and digest mode. We take out of the fight or flight. So if I can put myself into that rest or digest just before bed, then my sleep quality will also likely improve. And then finally, building in time for play. So this might be, maybe it's board games or card games, some type of connection. Maybe it's playing with a dog or a cat and watching how crazy they get when they do something. But play creates laughter. Laughter creates those mood endorphins that help reduce our stress, helps reduce our muscle tension. And so if we can be intentional about bringing in some play, it will help us in the long run. Wanted to take a moment to just to remind everyone that we can't pour from an empty cup. So, self-care, as much as right now it is one of the big buzzwords, it's a real thing, because if we are running on empty because we're giving to everybody else, we're not giving the best we can. So if you are one of the cancer supporters and you're on this journey with someone, also make sure you're filling your cup. And if you are on this journey of cancer, make sure you are taking care of yourself. It is not selfish. It is the best thing you can do. So, with that, here are just some ideas for self care to help manage our stress and anxiety. And of course, recognizing that where you live will also impact what kind of self care you can participate in. Not everybody will have access to massage. And right now, with all the new COVID restrictions, no one has access to that. No one has access to the gym. But is it possible to spend even 10 minutes outside, even if it's sitting on a bench? That vitamin D, the fresh air, and just 10 minutes of quiet breathing outside can help reduce some of your stress. Maybe it's taking your dog for a walk, or spending 5 minutes in meditation or journaling. As we know, as I mentioned at the start, holding on to our emotions and really holding that stress tight can create different diseases and different autoimmune disorders. So if we take even 20 minutes to write about our day in a journal, then I'm releasing that and letting it go. And my muscles and my tension will notice that as well. Maybe it's a hot bath or playing with your kids. Another really important way is, if you're working, turning your phone off and putting it to the side when you're at home. That is such a simple self-care strategy in its thought, but often can be quite challenging. And that's all I have for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. I think, acknowledging that, the environment that we're in right now with COVID means some of those kind of self-care options that we often think about aren't available. Maybe we're not spending a day at the spa, but there's some of those smaller things that you can do every day that have a meaningful impact. Whether it's that mindfulness, the journaling, a hot bath, some of those things that we can do for ourselves. I think it's really good takeaways, and I'm sure we'll have some questions at the end. I'm going to hold off on questions and ask that people wait until we finish. We do have a little bit of time at the end scheduled for that. But next up, we have Sundas. Sundas is a past guest of Sorrentino's Compassion House. She was a special model in our fashion show in 2019. And she's an ambassador for our foundation and does a lot of work locally in Fort McMurray. I know she started her own support group, so she can kind of speak to it both from somebody who has experienced the cancer journey, but also one who supports others through theirs. And so without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Sundas, and I really look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you for the opportunity to come out and talk to people about this. Let's start with my journey first. My cancer journey started in 2017. Listening to the words "you have cancer" altered my life, and rightly so. Like, I had envisioned my future, and everything had to be put on hold, and there was only one goal, one mission, to fight cancer. And I was in the fight mode. So I documented everything. I wrote down all the questions, any piece of information that came into my way, I jotted down. And even though I had a wonderful healthcare team and I had a wonderful support system through my family and friends, I felt isolated. I felt like I was the only one with this disease. I couldn't see anybody like me. It made me feel like I was cursed with the disease that just came, and at that age too. So going through cancer, and the thing about cancer is it diminishes your individual self. The treatment itself limits your abilities to do basic things, going to work, walking. Sometimes you're just too tired. And it's important to take care of yourself. But as much as I was going through this, and I had support from my family and friends, and they did empathize with me, and they could feel the pain that I was going through. I felt like they didn't understood. They didn't understand what I was going through, what I felt, how I was feeling through treatment and things like that. And this is when Compassion House came as a blessing to me in my life. Not only Compassion House, Sorrentino Compassion House eased my financial burden, but it also was a place that I discovered the supportive kindness and compassion of my sisters in cancer. I still remember gathering near those couches, big couches, sitting around with other cancer patients, sharing our stories like they were battle stories. These women shared my achievement. They shed tears with me. They held me through my fears. But most importantly, they understood. They understood exactly what I was going through. They understood my pain. They understood my anxiety, the fear that comes with it. And they understood my worries. And I had established lifelong friendship with these women. We connect with Facebook, we connect over the phone, and we keep track of everybody's journey through cancer and treatment and survivorship. And this support and sisterhood that I received with those ladies motivated me to establish a support group in my own city. And I named it, I guess it's too on the nose, but I named it Sisters in Cancer, YMM. The sisterhood inspired me to support these women and provide them with resources that were not available, since we are up north, and there's other communities that are so remote and they don't have the resources like Edmonton or Calgary. So it was very important to me to provide them the resources and information and the support they needed. I truly believe that no one fights alone. This is a disease that is very isolating. And we have in our group 51 members, and it's still growing. We provide peer-to-peer support, one-on-one, and we have support group meetings on Zoom nowadays. And we provide with resources and information if they need it, or they ask it from us. We post things on our Facebook page all the time. And the thing that helped me a lot running this support group is the Compassion Network. They provided me with trainings, resources, and tools to help these women. As an ambassador, I feel like the network has been a powerful tool in providing support. One of the resources worth mentioning is the Compassion Connects, an online tool designed to support women through resources, blog posts, and publication of healthcare workers. I just wanted to say that in the end, cancer survivors, when your treatment ends, your journey doesn't end. Unfortunately, I personally experienced when my treatment ended, I felt alone. I felt like, what now? I had spent almost 2 years fighting this disease, and when my treatment was ended, I couldn't go out to my normal life because that didn't exist anymore, and I had to navigate through this new life. And it's important that we reach out and ask for help. And it's okay to ask for help. Sometimes we feel like, no, it's not, like we feel strong and we think that it's not easy, but there are help around in support groups, in medical professionals. Reach out to a psychologist, health professionals, or just support group or online tools. There are forums out there that you can reach out to, but it's really important to reach out for help. And in the end, I would like to say that there are no survivors. I think we are all fighters. We're warriors. We fight for hope. We fight for positivity. We fight against the fear and anxiety of it coming back. And those of you who have finished your cancer journey, there is still support. And I would encourage every one of you to reach out wherever you can to get support you need. because in the end, not every day is going to be good, but good days will come. Thank you.
Thank you, Sundas. Amazing. You're such a rock star in the work that you've done in Fort McMurray, and in bringing a support group and that peer-to-peer support into your community, I think is just so instrumental. In the fact that you guys have the number of members as part of that group is really telling in the kind of work that you're doing there. So hats off to you. I have a quick question for you. I'm just wondering, obviously you do so much and you clearly get so much joy out of giving back to the cancer community. And I'm just wondering, what have you done for yourself personally to ensure that you have, when we talk about that, filling your cup first, I'm sure doing for others must bring you so much joy and does fill your cup, but what are some of those kind of tools that you access to make sure that you're taken care of while supporting others?
Well, I do see a counselor, so I have support through that. And just like Kim said, simple activities that you enjoy. So I picked up painting when I was going through treatment, and I enjoy doing that. Just things, spending time with family, going for a walk when I feel, and also the thing that helped me most is thinking about your situation and putting a positive spin on it, like to look into what is good in this situation. There are times when I was stopped treatment. I had to stop treatment because my liver enzyme levels were really high and I couldn't go on. But at that time, I was really sad because I wanted to finish my treatment as soon as I could. But at that time, I realized that once I stopped treatment, I felt better. And it made me realize that I'm not going to be sick for a long time. Once I did stop treatment, I will feel better. This feeling of grogginess or tiredness or feeling sick is not going to last long. So, just to navigate through, it's not easy all the time, but to navigate through and reach out to support in the community through support groups. I talk to my support group ladies all the time and tell them if I'm having a rough day, I share with them. But I do also go through counseling, and it's important to fill your cup too. And this helping women also does help me, because I had gone through it and I felt really alone, and I just don't want anybody to feel like that. So if I can help somebody and they can feel a little bit of support, that there is support out there, that makes me really happy.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I just did have a question come through. I don't know if it's a comment or a question, but I will read it out. From Elizabeth. I finished treatment last February, free of cancer and returning to normal. I felt free until September. There was a mysterious sadness that erupted in strange places. I couldn't understand it. I reached out to a psychologist through Tom Baker and discovered that I needed to complete my experience with the idea of a project. A friend that had sent me videos of flowers almost daily through chemo. A friend sent a link to Vivaldi piece called Storm. I like to dance. Since September, I had become my final honoring of my experiences and lifted the mysterious sadness. So helpful. So, more of a feedback, but I think that's really great and definitely builds off of what Sundas is talking about as well. And I think,
yes,
finding that way to kind of complete that circle, and you've done it through giving back to your community. And I think that project sounds incredible. Kim, do you have any kind of, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Like I said, not everything works for everybody. It's not a cookie cutter, one fits all recipe. Some people enjoy dancing, some people enjoy painting. You can pick up a hobby. And if nothing else, like just talk to your friend and just have a day with, not even just talk about cancer, but just have a conversation with someone. And that brings joy too.
Absolutely. Milana said, where's the best place to find resources in Edmonton? Are there other resources besides the Cross? I know of a couple, but I'll maybe steer this to Kim to start.
Well, and if it's okay, I also want to add on to what you had said before and what you had mentioned, Sundas. In one of the things I think is really important to recognize along the cancer journey and when you're fighting it is how much grief is also sitting in there, right? So at Grief and Trauma Healing Center, we focus a lot on what we call grief recovery. And by definition, grief is could be these conflicting emotions or this change in what is normal. And so even when Sundas was saying, I felt very alone in this, no, this your whole normal had changed. And then even when you were done treatments, your normal has shifted again. And so recognizing that, yeah, there is grief that it's important to acknowledge it, these changes in what you become accustomed to or changes in your body and different things like that. And so that idea of completing it with the painting or with helping other women is so powerful because it really does kind of put that period at the end of the grief in that journey, right? Or at least that semicolon that now it's something different. In terms of other resources, for what comes to mind for me is really addressing and having a counselor who will be on your side and give you someone to talk to. I know that I've had clients who have also fought cancer and they have expressed that sometimes their family and their friends, they don't want to talk about it anymore. So making sure you have a safe space to address that and to help you process all those emotions. And then, at Grief and Trauma Healing Center, you could walk through grief recovery with any one of us. We even have interns that, if you're not able to access a psychologist at full fare, these interns are trained in grief recovery. They're supervised under Ashley Milkey, who is a psychologist, and can really offer some wonderful support that way. I'm not sure what other kind of resources you are looking for, Lana. So I'd love if Michelle or Sundas, you have more ideas too.
Yeah, so Sundas had,
Wellspring.
Go ahead.
Wellspring is one of a really good resource. They provide activities like yoga. I'm not sure if they're doing it anymore. I don't think so, but with the lockdown, but they provide, now they're providing Zoom meetings on painting, yoga, and there's seminars on how to deal with grief and things like that. And I would suggest the Compassion House Connect. It's an online tool, so and it's and you can go on and read blogs about people who have gone through the same thing. So
yeah, and I'll just add to that, our resource directory, it's under Compassion Connects on our website. It does have a very comprehensive guide to all resources that are available throughout Alberta. Many of them now have moved virtual, so it's even more accessible for those who are living outside of Edmonton as well. We also have here, sorry, another quick question. How would you start a conversation with someone who you can see is struggling, but is very private?
So that's always a tricky one, right? Because we want to respect someone else's boundaries and what they are ready to talk about. I would offer first just meeting where they're at and just saying, especially right now, you could recognize and normalize that most of us are struggling. We're struggling with the grief of our normalcy is not normal anymore. And we have lost so much with COVID. We've lost connections to people. We've lost our routine. And so first you could recognize, what, I'm struggling. And these are some of the things that I'm really missing. And if you open that conversation, sometimes you being vulnerable first creates the safety and the space for someone who is very private to also go, okay, I'm not the only one. That would be my first inclination. The next thing I would offer is just, you can recognize it and say, I've noticed that maybe you're a little sad, or you look like you're a little stressed, and I don't want to add to that stress or the pressure, but I want you to know I am here for you. And even if it's having a virtual tea, or just spending 5 minutes outside together on the phone, I'm here for you however you need me. And just know that that offer is open all the time. Those would be the two main things I would start with.
Do you have anything to add to that, Sundas?
Like Kim said, they have to, like, I mean, we don't want to intrude, but you can just express that you are there for them. And then if they want to reach out, that you are there. Like she said, humor sometimes helps too. Like I used to tell people funny story about my cancer. And I think like not everybody would find it funny, but the cancer patients did. Like, for example, I had really bad allergic reaction from my one of the medication, and the oncologist called me and told me, did you know that you are allergic to rats? And I'm like, well, I don't have any experience of eating rats, so I did not know that. So like things like that. I mean, sometimes it's just easier to get in that space through humor.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. Someone else asked, Kim, if you would be comfortable making your slides available afterwards. Would you be okay with
Absolutely.
sharing that? I know they'll be available. I do want to say this is being recorded. We are going to make it available afterwards. We'll probably do it through our YouTube, and you can connect in through Compassion Connect. So certainly this will be available to everybody after, but if Kim is able to make those slides available, we can send them out to the participant list as well. And we are coming up on kind of the end of our time that we said we would keep it within today. So there will be an email that goes out. I'll include the resources that you guys have asked for, and I'm also going to ask that everyone participates in a survey. This is the first time that we've done an Inspiring Speakers series. We'd like to keep this up probably every couple of months on a variety of topics. So your feedback is very important to us. I want to say thank you again to both Kim and Sundas for being here, for sharing your expertise, and for everything that you do to support women in our communities, in particular those who have gone through the cancer journey. And I also want to say once again, thank you so much to CPA Alberta for making this possible. We really do appreciate our sponsors, and obviously as a nonprofit, they make sure that all of this can run smoothly. So thank you again. Really appreciate everybody taking the time to tune in today. I know we're very, very busy, but again, this will be available. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your day.